Oh, there we go. Had a little problem there. What is going on, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the weekly live news and Q&A show for you people. I'm Chris Grant, along with my Radamanthine co-host Chris Rasick. And today, as always, we're going to chat a few pieces of news that should interest you guys and take your questions about anything related to Amazon, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, wholesale. And so if you have questions, make sure to ask them. And then we have added in a piece where we're going to go over a couple of ASINs and talk with you about them and answer any questions you might have and do a little bit of diving into Keepa. But before we dive in, I'd like to share with you the sponsor this week. It's again the Wholesale Challenge, and we've had a few sellers on the podcast that have discussed the upsides of adding wholesale to an already existing arbitrage business. And I used to be of the mindset where it was, oh well, you know what, we do arbitrage, retail and online arbitrage, or you do wholesale, and there's really no in between. It's all in one or the other. But we've had some people on the podcast who are an order of magnitude smarter than me. And they're like, no, why would I stop doing arbitrage when it's profitable? And I should just add wholesale to my business. The problem is a ton of people are worried that they don't know how to properly position themselves. They don't know how to talk to suppliers or prospect for suppliers or even find a phone number for a supplier. And fortunately, we've got a solution to that with the 7-day wholesale challenge that starts on July 22nd. You'll learn about all of those things directly from someone who does this every single day, my friend Corey Ganem. If you want to learn more about it, you can go over to cleartheshelf.com/WSC and see what it's all about. We do it at what we think is an affordable price, and make sure that everyone can get through it in a timely manner. It only takes about seven days. So, Chris, what's going on, man? You've had a busy week since we talked last.
It was a busy week. Yeah, it's nice to be home. Did a little bit of traveling. It's funny. I talked about the location independence, that this business gives you. But I actually did quite a bit of work because I was traveling over the weekend and I still had to get my weekend leads out. So it was concerts at night, and then after the show, and then the next morning I was polishing off the lead list to send out. So, I'd say it didn't feel like a vacation, but I don't necessarily think this business requires vacations in the that stereotypical sense. So I agree. And in a sense, it felt good, to be able to keep everything running smoothly, not miss a beat, and still experience things that I've always wanted to get to SPAC. So I was the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. So it was really cool to see that venue.
So. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you've said SPAC several times. I've seen you write it a few times, and when you say that, I don't automatically think of a concert venue. I think of the All In podcast and the special purpose acquisition companies. Those stocks that people have are basically shell stocks and throw companies into them. All right, let's go and let's dive into a few things with you guys. Actually, you know what? Jerry here actually says something. I need to talk about this. Jerry says, looks like Rasick needs a professional organizer for that office. It's funny you say that, but a messy desk, research has shown, and I'm not just pulling this, out of the air. This is true. Research has shown that a messy desk is actually a sign of a high IQ. It may just be that Chris is a heck of a lot smarter than all of us.
I'm certainly not giving into the peer pressure to clean up now.
So there was some big news, and we'll put the news in quotation marks. All right. Someone who you all probably know might say this is fake news, but there has been a lot of noise about Nike coming back to sell directly on Amazon. For those of you who've been around for a while, this was the case. Nike sold first party directly to Amazon in the past. And then they switched gears. And the people who were talking about this, a lot of it was, excuse me, a lot of it was talking about, and I lost it for some reason. Oh well, there go the arbitrage sellers, and we're sort of stomping on the grave that has been dug and where we've all been buried for the last 10 years, and seemed kind of happy about it. Well, I decided to dig in a little bit deeper because I was like, I haven't seen anything in the news about this. I would have seen a link to an article or something like that, and so I started Googling, and there wasn't anything really showing up, but there were some posts on LinkedIn that were being served up to me. And one of them was bombshell, Nike's coming back to Amazon. And then you read down a little bit and it's like, oh, well, I'm basing this off of another LinkedIn post that I read from someone else. And the original, what looks to be like the original LinkedIn post, was from the director of Pattern. A very big seller on Amazon, the largest wholesale seller that I'm aware of on the Amazon marketplace. And he wrote a post. It was almost a love letter or a marketing letter to Nike. And it says, Nike's going to start selling on Amazon again. And then right below the headline, it was like, well, not really, but here's why they should. And it was a really good, it was a great outbound piece of marketing that I hope someone at Nike did read. And it was this love letter as to why essentially Pattern should be able to take over Nike's products on Amazon, like they've done for some other brands. Pattern handles just about all of the listings for that jewelry company. Pandora. So, it's funny to me how this just got blown way out of proportion. I've seen it from probably half a dozen people between Instagram and Facebook and Twitter all talking about this. And there is nothing right now that seems to be in the actual works or something that would say, oh, this is exactly what's going to happen. Now, there are some things that are happening over at Nike that if this were to happen, I'd be like, okay, it makes total sense. For example, the new CTO of Nike is a former Amazon vice president. So if it were to happen, that would totally make sense. That you've got someone from Amazon come over to Nike and they're like, hey, you guys kind of crapped the bed a little bit here. Stock is way down, sales are down. Yeah, you're looking to have a bad rest of the year before any numbers have even come out. Whether that's a little bit of a hedge or if it's this is really what we think is going to happen. And then the other thing is one of their vice presidents have returned, a guy by the name of Tom Petty, Peddi, not Petty. And he's come back to try to help them out a little bit, and that's big news. But the thing is he's been with Nike for 30 years. He retired like 2 years ago, and now he's coming back. So I'm not necessarily sure if his very first inkling is, oh, let's really dive into e-commerce marketplaces, or if he's going to be like, oh, let's kind of go back to what worked in the past. I don't know. I got really irritated because nobody wanted to use any facts. It was just bombastic, bloviating headlines. If we want to add in a few extra words this week that people have to go look up. so there was no due diligence done. It was just people blowing off at the mouths. And then the other thing is people seem to be happy. Like this is going to ruin certain sellers' businesses, and I'm not sure why that's something to cheer about, in the first place. So I'm calmed down now. I promise.
Yeah. So yeah, much ado about nothing, really. Yeah, I did. I wish I could. I didn't load up that quote there. I just saw a quote about how people enjoy negative things happening to people around them. But I'm not prepared with that information. That's Nike's kind of they're kind of the flag that everybody waves. It's kind of like the attachment that people put. Like the anti-guru people talk about Nike socks, and they look down on sellers starting out with a whole bunch of Nike in their accounts and stuff, and I think it's mostly a scapegoat, so I think it's going to have a brighter spotlight on it in general, and it's just kind of become divisive in general, just mentioning the brand.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I don't know. I have been looking at a lot of stores lately. Ones that do sell Nike, ones that don't sell Nike. I've been looking at some larger arbitrage sellers, and I've also been told a few times like, oh well, those kinds of listings are just for X type of seller, and arbitrage sellers can't do them. And every time I'm told something like that, I go back and I look at some actual data, or I talk to people, and unfortunately I can't reveal the conversations I have, and I'm shown things exactly the opposite of what seems to be the common knowledge out there. I was told earlier in the week that X type of product is something that is really only for wholesale sellers. And then I had a conversation later in the week, and they're like, oh yeah, we have, and I can't say how many, but we're buying a ton of this type of product, retail arbitrage, and we're absolutely crushing it. And it's just amazing. It amazes me some of the things that people are doing to build their business kind of quietly behind the scenes. We may be able to get those folks on for a podcast. I'm slowly chipping away at them. So that's going to be a fun one if we can get them on.
Nice.
The next piece of news. This one is not a great piece of news. There are, we know that last week we talked about bundles getting cleaned up. Those bundles where you take two things of peanut butter and you throw in a refrigerator magnet or a sticker, or those two board games that don't use dice and you get collectible dice with them. Those ones are my favorite. Amazon seems to be cleaning up those bundles. This week, it seems like Amazon is really going after misbranded listings. So for example, if you're selling a name brand peanut butter, you're selling some Jif peanut butter, but the listing is branded as Paul's Peanut Emporium, even though the title says Jif peanut butter and all of that stuff, you're going to want to make sure to go in and close and delete those listings, whether or not you have any in stock, or if you are currently selling them, you're going to want to make sure that they're all gone. And as you source, you're going to want to make sure to double check, triple check the brand names, make sure that those brand names match the listings that you're listing against, because these seem to be throwing some suspensions. It also seems very hit or miss, like everything Amazon does when they start cleaning things up. So be careful out there. Now, I wanted to offer some easy ways to look through your entire catalog, just in case you are like, hey, what the heck, what do I need to do? Well, there's two ways. Number one, Keepa. This will be a nice, easy way to go through your entire catalog. Download the all listings report from inside of Seller Central. Upload those ASINs to the Keepa product viewer. And from there, you should be able to see all the brand names of the products that you're on. Now, there is a bit of an issue here. The issue here is that sometimes Keepa does not pull the data from all of the products. And it might say, oh, well, you uploaded 500 ASINs and we could only get 477 of them. That happens. Okay. So there's another way that you can go about this that might be a little bit more in depth, and it's pulling your fee preview report. You can also pull this report in Seller Central, and it's going to list all of your brand names of the products in your catalog, and it should have like a list of your SKUs as well, so that if you do need to pull one down or pull several down, you can then search by SKU and actually close and delete that listing. If you have stuff in stock, I'd let it go stranded and pull it back. Find the right ASIN for it, sell it on another marketplace, whatever you need to do. And I should give credit, to the folks who posted about this. It was Joy Williams over at Seller Basics. That's where I saw that information. But make sure you're keeping things nice and clean. Okay.
Yeah. Do you think that they're taking extra action, or they're moving forward this week in particular in anticipation of Prime Day?
That wouldn't surprise me. Amazon does seem to try to clean things up before sales holidays. We kind of got two things. Number one, we're in Q3 now, which that snuck up on us, but we are in Q3 now. Amazon has a history of doing cleanups in the third quarter of the year. Is it because that's when Prime Day is? Is it because we're getting ready for the busiest time of the year as retailers? I don't know. I would imagine maybe a little bit of both. But the other thing is, I have no idea, what is happening. What is happening with the FTC lawsuit? There's obviously, as there always is. My wife and I watch. We'll find a show that has 10 seasons, so we can have something to watch for the next month or so, or, as we relax in the evening. And right now we're watching a show with lawyers. And of course, there's always something going on behind the scenes. It's not all in courtrooms and open for people to know. So what is going on with that? There's an article about Andy Jassy trying to cut out the bloat that's at Amazon. How much of this is trying to clean up things where they don't want sales trickling off from, ASIN A to ASIN B. They really want the sales going to this properly branded listing instead of, Paul's Peanut Emporium. Plus, how much of the catalog is really garbage, and how much does it cost them to keep those pages up? I know that everyone's like, oh, well, it's just an internet page. It doesn't really cost anything, but there is a cost to keeping pages up on the internet. There's server costs, which Amazon is obviously buying from themselves, but it's still a cost. It goes to the bottom line. There's electricity costs and all that stuff. I wish that they would just come out and say, hey, let's have a round table, or let me just have a press conference to Amazon sellers. But of course, wish in one hand, I think, as the saying goes.
Yeah, it's big of they're selling partners. Why wouldn't they want them to be more involved?
Yep.
That's a loaded question. So it's a question for you. As far as moving forward, to protect ourselves, if Joy and anticipates that, this week all hell breaks loose and they really start putting things in action, what's the best way to protect yourself? Is it really, now I use Rev Seller, and at the bottom of Rev Seller's box, it gives you manufacturer and a brand. right? I mean, are you looking those up every time? Here and then I really want your opinion on the one thing that I do is I look back through the Keepa history, and I'm always comforted when I see Amazon's been in stock in the past. And that's probably just it's just in my own head. But I mean, do you really have to look up, because some of these manufacturers, it's not logical. It's not anything I've seen just being exposed to commerce in general. Some of these manufacturers have these oddball names. So should we go look that up?
I don't necessarily think we need to worry about the manufacturer information. I think it just needs to be that brand name. Because you're right. We got a cat. My wife keeps trying to, she's like, "Oh, do you love it?" No, I like it. I'm not loving it yet. I love my dogs.
You don't seem like a cat person. Just it's my 2 cents.
So, but I was looking on the back of the cat food that we have, and it's a brand name cat food. The breeder was like, "This is the one." It's called Reveal, I believe. And you look at the back of it, and you see who the manufacturer is, and it's something way out of left field, and you're like, "Oh, I wouldn't expect that." But if you go to the listing, it has the proper brand name on Amazon. And so I think that's what's important. If you're doing OA, one thing I would even suggest is, that brand name on the Amazon listing, it's clickable. I would take a second and click through it, because every now and again, it's rare, but it happens. You'll click on a brand name and it says the correct brand name, but then it takes you out to the wrong brand name or to a generic search on Amazon. And I would never want anyone to get dinged for something that looks good, but is just wrong on Amazon's back end. So that's what I would do. And I think you're right. It does make me feel better when I saw that 362 days ago, Amazon was on the listing, and they were on the listing for a year before that. Does make me feel better.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
And also, are you watching Suits? Did you get sucked into that? Is that the Laura show?
No, it's not Suits. This one is The Good Wife. But I am a fan of Suits. I just have only watched like 6 episodes.
Okay, just curious. I couldn't let it go without.
I get it. Now the last thing. This was brought up to me today by Saul. Is a good friend of ours. But I noticed that a seller who's fairly active on social media does wholesale or has done wholesale. He sold his tape. He sold his pallet jack, and was like, "You know what? We're gonna kind of let this go, and not that we're gonna quit selling on Amazon, but we're gonna be moving on to another opportunity." And he did say he was gonna make a video about it. He's gonna be straight up about it and say, "Hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's where I'm going," and I'm looking forward to that. But it was brought to my attention how this is happening more and more. And so I wanted to talk about this in a couple of different ways. Number one, this doesn't surprise me. Lots of people, Amazon is a stepping stone rather than kind of the final thing. You kind of get your beak wet being an entrepreneur, with Amazon, which I get. It's a very easy way to go from, I got a 9 to 5 to I have a 9 to 5 and a side hustle. Well, now I've got a business, and then there are other opportunities. Maybe I want to start a local business. I've learned how to run something where, I get to use someone else's marketplace, and now I'm going to move on to something different. But I've noticed other people doing this as well. And I'm curious if it is because of the difficulties that we've been having with Amazon lately. And I guess I kind of want your opinion.
I'm sure some people some people would shy away from, I mean, I remember when I was coming up and first getting started, there was a real fear of losing your store. I mean, every morning I would wake up and just pray that I wasn't suspended, that my account wasn't suspended, because it was a mystery. It made no sense. As far as the context of, as I was learning, it could happen at any point in time. That's eased off, as I network with other sellers and kind of join communities and became more active. You find out that there's usually more to the story. The suspensions aren't really out of the blue most times. So that's kind of eased off, but it can't not be in the back of your mind. You can't just completely flush it. So that has a little bit of pressure to it. And like you said, this isn't the be all end all for everyone. This is you learn a lot. There's a whole lot of valuable business lessons that can be applied to other industries and other branches of this tree in general. And you know what? There have been people on social media, there have been people that we interviewed that you can follow along and see that this was basically a way to produce seed money for a venture that they wanted to do even more. And I know one of them was real estate. And I know some people have Airbnbs and other vehicles. Plus, we've read enough business books that we know that the more streams of income, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So
That's true.
It may just be diversification. Some of this trend may just be people kind of diverting some of their energies towards another stream of income. So, I don't know. Is it the fact that we're plugged into the community or plugged into to social media? I mean, is it a fact that we simply get more information and we would notice this more? I mean, you've had your FBA groups for a long time, so maybe that's more a question for me. But I don't know. I mean, everybody has to have an exit plan at some point, right?
I would think so. I've got like 4 or 5 of them. I just haven't started working on any of them, which is it's something I should probably do. And GSD here says, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just I caught Jerry mentioning the fees and stuff. That's we've talked about it, and we kind of we play therapist, during the heat of when all these fees are being put in place. But and you'll know better than me. I've only got about 5 years in, but there's been layer upon layer of additional requirements, additional fees. It was easier to make money years ago. That's a fact. It's how you deal with that fact. It's you can shrug it off or you can gnash your teeth over it. That's up to you. But I think for people that have been in this for a long time, it's going to wear some people down. I mean, there's different thicknesses of skin, and some people may be just deciding that, all right, that's enough.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that. I mean, yes, there has been push down on margins. GSD and Jerry are absolutely right, and part of it is because of fees. Part of it is because the marketplace has become more mature. It was easier. So 10 years ago, it was easier to make money. I think that is 100% true. You could walk into a store, you could throw a rock, and you're probably going to hit some sort of profitable product. But on the other hand, I could not think of a business that is easier to get started. I mean, other than like selling on eBay, that is lower risk. And I don't know. Even if I were to move on to something else, I'd like to think I'd probably keep my hand in Amazon, just because there is still, I'm still bullish on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, people have called me an apologist and things like that in the past. I'd like to think that, even just the post I made about the trouble that Kim and Perry Coughlin are going through shows that I'm not always just an apologist, and there are things that Amazon does wrong. But I am still pretty bullish. Like, yes, margins were better 10 years ago, but the number of people that you can sell to now compared to 10 years ago is insane. The growth has been incredible. And the fact that you can go out and you can say, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna have 2,000 base hits of things to sell. Like, there's no way you could do that if you were like, oh, I really want to be a retailer. Try holding a mom and pop shop in a local area and have 2,000 SKUs that you could actually sell anything of. You can't. You gotta really pick and choose. And with Amazon, I can say, you know what? I'm going to put $1 on every number on the roulette table here, and chances are you're probably going to be okay. With a lot of them. Well, at least if you know how to read Keepa a little bit. So,
and there are advantages to this becoming more mainstream. It's not just new sellers coming in, which we've seen the data on that that was published not too long ago, as far as like the actual impact but there's an advantage. It's probably, and it's speculation only, of course, but it's probably easier to get a wholesale account as an Amazon seller now than it was 10 years ago. It's just simply more of the company reps that you're going to talk to have probably been approached before. And I mean, it was kind of in the Wild West. You have to figure it out on your own, but now there's things like the Wholesale Challenge, where you can have templates and game plans, and you can learn how to do it from people that not only do it, but sell millions of dollars doing that kind of thing. So you have a blueprint now. It's and not that it can't be done, but it takes a certain type of person. It takes a certain amount of initiative to go out and do it without any protocols, without any idea. And you're going to hear a lot of no's, and not everybody's built to kind of let those roll off your back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's answer some questions, and then we'll go over some ASINs here. So Jerry's got one here. Have you ever used Premium Products Wholesale? They seem to have great margin deals daily, emailed to you like a sourcing list. So my answer to this was going to be, nope, never heard of them. But then you said they send you daily deals like a sourcing list. And that to me is a red flag for a couple of reasons. Number one, if the margins are that high, I'm guessing they're not actually a wholesale dealer or wholesale supplier. They're probably some sort of liquidator that's getting some incredible deals, and then they're selling it as a wholesaler. There are other companies that do this. 888 Lots, I think they're still in business. Those kind of places often get red flagged by Amazon, and they don't accept their invoices because they don't know their supply chain. Are they buying gray market goods? For those of you who don't know what gray market goods are, those are legitimate products, most likely, that are maybe sold to a company in another country because they don't sell to wholesalers in the US. So what someone will do is they'll set up a company in Dubai or Hong Kong. They will buy these products from this other company in another country, and then they'll just ship the products to the US and sell them to other people in the US. Those are called gray market goods. Liquidators are just buying from liquidation places like liquidation.com. And other sources they may have, and then they're selling them as wholesale products, and that's typically where they get the big margins. It's okay to go and buy from Ross and TJ Maxx because Amazon knows where Ross and TJ Maxx are sourcing from. They have no idea where Premium Products Wholesale is sourcing from, and so you can run into some issues. Sardar. Hopefully I said your name right. I apologize if I didn't. I'd really like to start wholesale as a new beginner. Is OA absolutely recommended before starting wholesale? I think that it's a good idea to have an understanding of how the Amazon platform works. A cheap way to do that is OA, retail arbitrage. You can make small mistakes. Okay. I read I don't have the exact quote, but I read a quote just the other day that the best way to learn is by making mistakes as quickly as you possibly can. I believe that is true among online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, wholesale, private label. Here's the thing with wholesale and private label. Your mistakes tend to be more expensive. Okay. If with private label, if I need to order $5,000 of product from, to get the price I need, and I get it and it flops, that was a $5,000 mistake. With retail arbitrage, I can make a $5 mistake. I can buy a product for $5. I send it in, it doesn't sell, or it tanks in price, or I just didn't look at Keepa and it cost me $5. It cost me less than my wife's Starbucks order, and you can do the same thing with OA. With wholesale, it's kind of in between. Maybe you can buy $250 worth of product, but do you want to make a $250 mistake or a $5 mistake? If you have an idea of how the platform works, how to properly read Keepa, how to know whether or not something is a good buy, can you start with wholesale right from the get-go? Yeah, absolutely. If you're very well capitalized and losing a couple $1,000s is not going to be a big deal while you learn it out, then sure, absolutely. I don't think there is a wrong way to get started. It just depends on how much you're able to risk and lose to learn. Greedy ye or greed ye, Walmart or nah? Yeah, absolutely. Walmart, eBay, Poshmark, whatnot. I think that you should sell on every platform that you can. And I think that right now Walmart is I'm not as bullish on Walmart as a lot of people are. I'm not, I don't know that I'm bearish. I'm just kind of like, okay, let's see what happens. But there are some people who are absolutely crushing it. It's early in the game on Walmart. They've got, we talked last week, their marketplace is going to do $10 billion this year in third-party marketplace sales compared to 350 billion from Amazon. So they've got a long way to grow, but there are opportunities there. There seems to be some less rules. There's 0% referral fees on collectibles right now. So obviously they're incentivizing people to help them grow their catalog in certain categories. And I think you should absolutely leverage the opportunities that are available to you. Big B, I don't understand how do these sellers make money when a Nike listing has 750 sellers with 10 pairs while it only sells 100 a month? Well, they may not be making money on those listings. It's very possible that they're breaking even or selling at a loss, and it's just it's a skill issue when it comes to that. There's sometimes you just don't read it right, or you jump in on something that looks really good and it gets shared in some Discord, and it just happens. But there are plenty of other listings that are Nike listings that are profitable. They've got something like 80,000 ASINs on Amazon at the moment. I would imagine we could find 1% of those that are profitable right now.
What did that Marketplace Pulse article say? The profitability of sellers? There are, was it like 78% or at least break even. So yeah, 22% of the sellers that you will come across are in fact not making money. So, and then throw in the 0% ROI from day one. You know, the churn people, the hyper turnover kind of people that live off of credit card perks and cash back, and yeah, I mean the puzzle starts putting itself together.
Angel, can I sell 2 FBM listings on the same ASIN, or is that against terms of service? All right, so let's dive deep into this particular term of service category here. The rule is that you may sell on the same ASIN in multiple ways, but you cannot sell in multiple of the same way. So here's an example. If you are on, let's say a toy listing, okay? You're on a Funko Pop listing. You could sell 1 FBA new, 1 FBA used, if that's allowed for that particular category, 1 FBA collectible. You could then sell 1 FBM new, 1 FBM used, and 1 FBM collectible. So you could be on a listing 6 different times. You could be on a book listing like 8 different times, you know, new, used like new, used very good, all those things. Okay. And you could double that up, because you could do those FBA and you could then do them FBM as well. But I cannot list under 2 different SKUs the FBM listing. So I cannot do one, you know, with, let's say I do SKU ID 1, it's FBM new, and SKU ID 2, FBM new. I cannot do that. That is against terms of service.
Hey, speaking of SKUs, what do you do when you have the same ASIN but you source it at a different store? Do you do a whole brand new SKU, or do you have a store identifier in the SKUs you use?
No, if I'm sold out of the other one, I typically do a brand new SKU.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing is that you don't get lifetime profitability numbers. Yeah, or I mean, you'd have to combine them. It's a couple extra steps to find out that data.
Yeah, it's probably not the best way to do it. I'm sure that there's somebody who does bookkeeping and they're cringing right now. Shane, how do you submit a claim for an FBA return where a customer did a switcheroo? You need to get a picture of the license plate number, or the LPN. That's a little slip that'll come in the return. So you need to get a picture of that. You need to get a picture of the item itself and a picture of the Amazon box with the actual label on it. Get as much as you possibly can. And then you're going to want to just open up a case with Amazon on that. What is a good ratio of sales to inventory? I think it depends. It depends on what you're doing. You know, are you? Yeah, let's talk about. I know a very big wholesale seller to the tune of like $120,000 to $160,000 a day in sales a day. Okay, you know, they need to sell a lot, but their turnover ratio is probably going to be faster than most arbitrage sellers. They are just churning and burning inventory as quickly as they possibly can. You know, their stuff is all ranked super low. It's got very thin margins, and they're going to make it up in volume. For just an arbitrage seller, you just want to, I think you should try to turn over your inventory within 30 to 45 days is what you should be doing. If you sell about 1% of your inventory per day, you're usually in a pretty good spot. You know, 1 to 2% of your total inventory per day should be pretty good, I think. Tampa Bay picker. I've been trying to ungate Birkenstock and have been denied 4 times so far. I even tried a different ASIN and was denied right away automatically. Any advice? So my advice to people who get denied for ungating, especially when it's only 4 times, is to keep trying. It was maybe 3 years ago. 3 years ago, it was very common for people to have to send in their ungating requests 30 or more times. We have been extremely spoiled as Amazon sellers over the past couple of years, and we're going to have to get that grit back up a little bit. And if you have everything that they're requiring, keep sending it in.
If you haven't sacrificed any livestock to the Amazon gods yet, you haven't done it enough. So
that's exactly right. They prefer goats and sheep. Do not, you don't have to do pigs or cows. Was curious. Do you run your Amazon business on sales velocity or minimum profit margin? I don't know which Chris this was for, but Chris, I'm going to let you go first, and then I'll talk about this a little bit as well.
Do I run it on sales velocity or minimum profit margin? I'll go with can we go with the standby? It depends. I kind of just have this evaluation process where I'm not really dealing with specific benchmarks anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I do like slower selling ASINs with very little seller traffic. I've always been a fan of those. I like picking those off, and I'm very, very content selling 10 or 15 a month, because I know when it's time to buy 10 or 15 more, it's likely still going to be profitable, or there's definitely a higher chance that it's going to still be profitable. I would love to build a catalog with ASINs like that. With very heavy percentage of those, I would have no problem with that. But at the same time, when you find, you go to Knife Center and they've got some Gerber knife on some massive sale, and you can buy it for $99 and it's selling for $200 something and change on Amazon. The numbers get real good real fast, selling a lot of those, especially if it's flying. So, so it's a mixture, it's just kind of, it's a sliding scale, based on, velocity. The higher the velocity, the less emphasis I put on profit. But if it's a slower velocity, I do like more profit. So yeah, I feel like, at least in my head, it's kind of a coordinated scale, if that makes any sense at all.
I'm gonna pull a Charlie Munger, and I have nothing to add. Other than Chris was just tipped over the bowl of au jus there on a really great source. So you guys, hopefully everyone was listening.
I got to contribute something to this show.
Dope Water. Great name, by the way. We all know that Clear the Shelf is the best Amazon podcast. Flattery will get you everywhere, Dope Water. But what Amazon podcast do you guys regularly listen to? To be quite honest, I don't regularly listen to any Amazon podcasts. I tend to listen much more to general business podcasts, and even some other types of podcasts, well, some history podcasts, things like that. And here's the reason why. It's not that I don't think that there's any other Amazon podcast that is good. There are, and I probably should pay more attention to other Amazon podcasts. I do occasionally, just not that often. However, I think that even though we're in the Amazon space, we should take a multidisciplinary approach to being a business person. And I think that the broader our knowledge is, the easier it is to find opportunities where other people may not be looking. And so I like to listen to, tech entrepreneurs and, old school investors and even, making friends with the eminent dead, if I can steal another Charlie Munger quote, by listening to podcasts about business leaders who are no longer around.
You're far more diplomatic than I am. We started the podcast because there wasn't anything, close enough to what we do. Arbitrage was underserved in our opinion, and it's. I didn't like listening to Amazon podcast or Amazon FBA podcast where the Venn diagram is just a little sliver of my wheelhouse. I don't like listening to an hour-long episode just to get about 10 minutes of relevant content. So we tried to dial it in on the arbitrage, and we've, not that we haven't expanded, but But I'm with you. I don't listen to a lot of Amazon podcasts, and even our early episodes. We were talking about business laws and theories, and it was more of a business concept. So it kind of fits with the other stuff that we listen to.
Yeah. Jerry, when is the Walmart training available? You talked about a few sessions ago. I don't know. I owe a lot of people some messages. I've been getting hounded a little bit because I'm a little behind in my messages, and that person is one of the people that I need to get back to. So I'll work on that. Let's see here. Giovanni, hopefully I said that right as well. I used to really like looking for out of stock listings on Amazon, but it looks like Amazon took away that button. Is there a different way to search for just out of stock listings? I was looking for that button the other day as well. The only other way you could do it is through Keepa product finder. You should be able to find listings that have no stock on them currently. GSD, want to see hockey stick of seller increases? Look at Crayola. Yeah, Crayola, absolutely. We're at the beginning of back to school season, and a lot of Crayola listings are going to be just skyrocketing in the number of sellers. I really like. Oh, there it is. Okay. Different SKUs brings up another question. Do you do a different SKU or different expiration dates? Typically, I have, yes. And the reason is that it makes it easier if Amazon screws something up and says, "Oh, all of these are expired." So if they, like, for example, if I do SKU 1 that expires in July and SKU 2 that expires in August, if they're like, "Oh, well, all of these are expired," chances are they're only going to do it for one SKU and not both SKUs. So I could just call one back and then send it back in. So yes, I typically do that. And also, I want to take a moment and just mention, this is the largest crowd we've ever had. We're at 342 people live, and I appreciate that very, very much. Reese, I'm working through the OA Challenge recordings. Is the Facebook group for the last live run still open? Yes, all the stuff is there. Nobody really hangs out there too much, though. Lee, I have very low sell-through rate, 5% of stock sold per annum on eBay, which is, see, that doesn't surprise me at all. That is definitely a long tail play. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to see what other questions we have here. Should you aim to sell stock within 3 months? If so, at what ROI? So this is going to be different for everybody. Okay. everyone needs to have their own rules in place. But one thing I think you should do is have some sort of framework, which I think is more important than actual numbers. So here's the thing. If I said, yeah, you need to sell through all of your inventory within 90 days at a 30% ROI, I would be doing you a disservice. It's a great soundbite. It makes it easy to write a Twitter thread, but it's not the right thing. Here's an example. If I can buy an item for $1 and I can make a 20% ROI, but I can sell 1,000 units a month. Well, that means I'll invest $1,000. I will sell 1,000 units in 30 days. I will get $1,200 back. I'll get $200 in profit. I would do that all day long, especially if the prep is easy. If all I got to do is throw FN Skew stickers on it and send it off, or if I could case pack it and let Amazon put stickers on it and still get away with that 20% ROI, I'd throw all my money at those kind of ASINs, especially if the price never changed. If they were $9.99 and they had not changed in price for 3 years, I would, if I could find I would just all my money at all of those. But if you find a product that you can sell 5 of in a month and make $50 in profit, I think you should have a little bit of a higher ROI, especially if the price fluctuates more often. If the price is currently $50 and you can, sell 5 of them in a month, make $10 in profit on each one, then I think your ROI should be a little bit higher, especially if over the last 6 months or a year, the price has been $50 and $45 and $48 and so on, because there's more of an opportunity that you could see some price erosion, and that ROI, that margin may shrink, and you want to hedge your downside a bit. And so that's why I don't think just saying, hey, this is your ROI. Now, should you sell through everything within 3 months? I think so. You're dating inventory. You're not marrying it. All right. You have sunk costs the longer you hold on to something. You've got storage fees in place. If you let it go long enough, you're going to have long-term storage fees. And so I think that at a certain point, you need to say, at X number of days, it's time for me to start liquidating. That doesn't mean you have to take a loss. A liquidation sale can mean I just take less of an ROI. I take less margin because I need to get back my capital, because that is an opportunity cost. And I need to make sure that I don't continue to have sunk costs in the form of storage fees and other fees that may happen. That was probably too much information for that question. I'm sorry. Jeffrey, my listings were detached and the parent listing no longer exists. Now all children are on separate listings. Sales have tanked as a result. Any thoughts on what you would do? Yeah, I would probably go and hire someone to fix those for you. There is a company called Tarrant Toolbox, TARRANT Toolbox, and they could probably help you with those. Eli, what's up, man? Glad to see Eli here. We're gonna get Eli on the podcast here very, very soon.
Good deal.
All right, Dope Water. How do you feel about setting your repricer to match the buy box versus price below it? Seems that people frown on pricing below it because it lowers the price. So, Dope Water, which I see you also signed off as Malcolm. Here's my opinion. Other people are going to have tons of opinions, and they're going to offer them to you freely. Ignore those and do the best thing for your business. Now, saying that, I don't think that you need to reprice a penny below any longer. The buy box is no longer that simple. There are many more factors taken into account, including the speed and price at which Amazon can get your product to the Amazon customer. I'm not sure or not, but I have a filter on, but my phone has gone off for a merchant fulfilled listing 3 times over the past hour. We have a couple listings merchant fulfilled right now. If it's the listing I'm thinking of, we're priced above all of the other sellers on the listing right now, and have been for about 2 weeks. And we make consistent sales every single day above the buy box without going below other people, because most of the sales that we're making are staying sort of in the southeast area of the country where I live, a little bit up the East Coast, not really making any sales anywhere out west. And I'm holding on to the product a little longer than I really care to. It's been 2 weeks. I would have loved to have gotten it out in a week, but we're not sacrificing any margin, and I don't have any storage costs other than my wife giving me a little bit of the side eye when she sees them stacked up. But that's a cost I'm willing to pay. So, Jeffrey, thinking of getting another American Express card. I have a Plum card. Should I pay off the entire balance before applying for another card? Do you pay off all credit card balances before applying for a 0 APR card with the same bank? I'm going to let Chris answer this one. He's much better with credit cards than I
am. So I don't have a Plum. Is the Plum a business card or is that a personal card?
I think the Plum is a personal card, because isn't the business card the blue cash?
Well, they've got a few different business Amex cards. So I mean,
they do have a business Plum. Sorry.
Okay, well, if it's a business card, then you don't have to pay it off. I mean, that's going to have very little bearing, if any, on your chances of getting approved for a new card. It also depends on how seasoned your business is or whatnot. I mean, chances are, I think most of us here are probably going to, the evaluation for a business card is going to be based on our personal credit and our personal income. So, I mean, unless you're well seasoned and you got a Dun & Bradstreet number on your business or whatnot, but most of these evaluations are based on personal credit. So the balances on your business cards shouldn't, unless you're dumb like me and have a Capital One Spark that still reports to your personal credit. But the vast majority of the time, the business balances aren't going to report on your credit. It has nothing to do with your debt ratios or anything that they're looking at. So you don't have to pay them off. And if anything, you can make an argument that a balance on another Amex while you apply for one could be a positive, because then Amex is going to see that you actively use that card. A lot of times 0 balances on credit cards from a personal credit standpoint isn't necessarily a good thing, because when they pull your credit report, it doesn't look like you're using it. There's no evidence that you are using it. Obviously, Amex would have, interior channels that they could see that you're using it. But yeah, you don't have to pay off the balance. That's just get those cards, get those sign up bonuses. And if you have people in your network, get a referral code to kick them some extra points if they're perk cards. And just go get them.
Absolutely. Ricardo, how hard is it to make 10 to 20K profit a month with OA? Remember, I live in Brazil, and that money here would be 5.6 times more. So, well, my first question would be, do you really need to make 50,000 per month in profit in Brazil? I don't know the economy. I don't know, how much that would buy, et cetera, and so on. But 10,000 USD would be 56,000 in Brazil is what it sounds like. 20K, I'm not going to do that public math. I'll screw it up. But it'd be double that. It'd be 100,000. So the first question I'd ask myself is, do I really need to make that much? If I made $100,000 in profit per month here in the US, I'd be doing that for, well, I don't know, maybe 5 years. And then I'd probably disappear. I'd be real careful and I'd just disappear. But it is definitely possible to make $10,000 to $20,000 in profit. Let's just say $10,000 for some easy math. If you can run a 10% margin on your business, you would need to sell about $100,000 a month. Okay, that means you are sourcing well, you have a good sell-through rate, everything is good. You need to sell about $100,000 a month at a 10% margin to make $10,000 in profit. It's very doable. That's doable with just one person and a prep center, in my opinion, and plenty of time. Now, you could probably even get to that 20K with one person and a prep center, most likely. So, is it doable? Yes, absolutely. How hard is it? It's different for everybody. Everyone has a different ability and different learning curves and things like that. Some people, they're able to scale that quickly within 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Other people, it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But everybody can get there. Absolutely. Let's see here. Jeffrey Diaz, would that company you recommend help me even if I didn't create the listings? Yeah, absolutely. They will help even if you didn't create the listings. So, so Chris, I got to do one of my favorite things the other day. I got to go and I got to spend some uninterrupted time at a bookstore. And I got to browse for like an hour. No phone calls, nobody coming and asking me if they can, buy this book, just quiet time. And I came across a book it was way outside the usual selections that I'm looking at. And it looked fascinating. It was a book about mechanical oils and lubricants. I found it in the non-friction section.
Oh, it hurts so good,
right?
It hurts so good. Speaking of being bookish, did you? I'm not saying anything about your personality, but did you have any invisible friends when you were little?
I believe so. At least I'm told that I did.
Yeah, I did too. I had an invisible friend named Lee. He was Japanese. My mom didn't believe me though. She said it was my imagination.
I keep meaning to get us a rim shot sound, and I will have to make sure that I get us one for next week. All right. We've been going at this for a little over an hour. I don't think we're going to get to the ASIN reviews this week. We'll make sure to do it next Wednesday, but and we both have families that occasionally would like to see us, and we should probably get back to them. Until next week, guys, thanks so much. Please make sure to check out cleartheshelf.com/WSC if you want to learn more about the Wholesale Challenge. And wherever you might be watching this, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button to ward off Nike from coming back to selling on Amazon. And we'll see you guys next week.